Welcome to ReviewMean, the channel where we go an extra mile to simplify your movie decisions. Today, we will be scoring one battle after another. At the time of this video, these were the critics who had reviewed the movie. Chris Stuckman says, "I loved this film so much. I am just so excited it exists. This feels like a movie with a capital M." When you hear that phrase that I've certainly said, that I think some of us are getting tired of hearing, they don't make them like they used to. This is one of those that they used to make. He also says, unless you want to become a self-fulfilling prophecy where the things you say, you make them happen. Go to the theatre and support movies like this when they come around. That's how we get more of them. Chris doubts if he has seen a better movie this year. We'll give a score of 4.5 out of 5. After showing off some fresh graphics and a new intro song, Dan Murrell reviews One Battle After Another. He says, "This movie is about 2 hours and 45 minutes long. But like many of Anderson's movies, it proves that a long movie only feels long if it doesn't need to be that long. This movie is exactly as long as it needs to be. And it actually feels way shorter than a lot of shorter movies that felt longer because they could have been shorter."
Have fun diagramming that sentence.
Nobody likes a smartass.
Dan also says, "This movie feels kinetic from beginning to end, culminating with a really suspenseful sequence that conceptually has been done so many times before, but it's shot so well and in such an unexpected way that it feels like something new." He believes this is one of the best movies of the year, with a See It Now rating, which is 4.5 on our scale. Adam Does Movies begins by linking Quentin Tarantino and Women's Feet, Tom Cruise and the T-1000, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Fire.
Make of that what you will.
He says, "There's no real heroes in this movie. Everyone comes out of this movie a little dirty. But that doesn't mean there's not sympathy to be granted to even some of the more unsavory characters in this movie. And that's why I do really think this screenplay is brilliant." He says, "And this music, I have to talk about the music and the production values as a whole. Visually, this is a beautiful looking film. And it is a film. None of that digital BS. We have tried and trued camera lenses on display here. The music is popping non-stop.
Do it again.
Adam is pleased with this film and says it's easily one of his top 3 films of the year. We'll give this a 4.5 out of 5. Jeremy Johns says, "And I do emphasize when the movie finds its stride because when the movie was setting up, we'll call it the first act. It felt a little choppy, like it was fast-tracking it, but it still felt like it dragged a bit. This movie oddly feels like a 4-hour movie that's almost a 3-hour movie." He also says, "But in the end, all things considered, I enjoyed myself in this one. It took a bit to get going for me to see what the hype was all about. Even then, by the end, I'm not on the hype train for the movie. But I did enjoy myself." We'll convert his opinion to a 3.5 out of 5. 3C Films says, "Loved one battle after another. And let me tell you, I think it was probably a good thing those trailers were chaotic, random, weird mess, because the movie itself is a chaotic, random, not mess, but definitely weird. All of it, though, completely makes sense in the context of the film, and the story had me glued in. 3C was a bit wary the first 10 minutes. He thought the film would be a reminder of all the horrible things currently going on. But he says, and while it does have those reminders, man, it was just able to let me kind of laugh at these horrific things currently going on in a tasteful and thought-provoking way. It never came off preachy. It never came off lecturing. It was honestly just trying to tell the story of a father trying to save his daughter, with then mixing in all the context of things that unfortunately mirror our world. He believes this should be added to your personal collection. His scores average 3.4, which becomes our score. Is this movie just leaning into ridiculous, far-fetched political conspiracy theories like some kind of fantasy movie, or is it revealing a world that really does exist? You need to go beyond the trailer with Grace to find some answers. She says, and I would say the first third of it was my least favourite. I thought that the movie became the most interesting to me when they did the time jump to when DiCaprio's daughter becomes a teenager. I thought that the story that unfolded then, I thought the movie picked up considerably in entertainment value. When I think back, I think the first third has a lot of really important stuff to say. So, as you can see, this movie has really been making me think. And isn't that what great art is supposed to do? She says her opinion of the movie is changing exponentially in a positive way, but for now, we'll give a 3.5 score. Deep Focus Lens says, it's as if PTA has constructed this beautiful tapestry that speaks to these violent, kind of guttural, dark cries of human confliction, but through our current experience in modern America, but with this spirited sense of liberation. Deep Focus Lens says, you know, a lot of times when I watch movies, especially this year, it's like I'm sitting down at a nice restaurant eating like a nice piece of fish or something, but there's all these little bones in it. This one is smooth. She does not think it's as good as PTA's other movies, like There Will Be Blood, but still thinks it's the best film of the year so far. Well, 4.5 out of 5 is good for this one. Kermode from the Kermode and Mayo's Take says, it's impossible to see this and not find stuff that you'll love. I think there's also things in it that some people will just reject and hate. But in a way, it's the combination of those two things that makes it unmissable. It is a brilliant mix of chaos and order. He also says, it's not a short film, and I could quite happily go straight back in and watch that all over again, because it was Blimey Charlie and then some. Blimey Charlie is a very British expression, kind of an old-fashioned exclamation of surprise or shock. Blimey is like saying wow or good grief. Charlie is a playful add-on for emphasis, a bit like saying holy moly or geez Louise. You can thank me later for that quick language lesson.
Blimey!
Anyway, we'll give a 4.5 score here. Austin Burke says, my approach here is just, I want everyone to give this movie a chance. It is, yes, extremely relevant to what's happening right now. Like it or not, I think that's going to push it to being the front runner for Best Picture. But just from a quality standpoint, this movie is truly worth it because it keeps you on the edge of your seat this entire time. He also says, as someone who was going in a little hesitant, I just thought it was brilliantly made, like spectacularly put together. And so, all of my worries, well, I wasn't really feeling them by the end of the film. He gives a 90% score, which is 4.5 on our scale. Price of Reason says, so, at first glance, this movie had all the right ingredients to be something interesting. But somehow it ended up being one of the most disappointing movies I've seen this year, and a definite career low for Paul Thomas Anderson and any of the cast and crew involved. Uh-oh? Someone seems pissed. He also says, I also don't think this movie is very competently made either, especially when it comes to Anderson's screenplay, which I think is both extremely pedestrian and narratively weak. It's not funny enough to function as a comedy. It's not sophisticated enough to address real-world events. It's not satirical enough to be viewed as a legitimate parody. And even as a very basic story, it also doesn't work because most of the time the actions taken by the characters don't make any sense at all. Yikes. Price of Reason gives the movie a 30% score, and considers it an absolute fail. Wow. That is one angry critic. His score equates to 1.5. Well, that's all there is. Now let's round up the numbers and convert to percentage. The ReviewMean score for One Battle After Another is 3.9, or 78% compared to 96% on the tomatometer. So critics in general agree this is a must-see. The first act may feel a little rocky, but once it hits its stride, it's gripping, thoughtful, and might even be a Best Picture contender. However, if you're worried this is just a thinly veiled commentary on today's headlines, then approach with caution. Though the reviewers say it never feels like a lecture, you may have different leanings, particularly if you share Price of Reason's feelings. See what I did there? There you have it, folks. But what about you? Did our score match your vibe? Let me know in the comments. And hey, if this helped you make a more informed decision, or gave you one less thing to Google today, give a big thank you to the amazing reviewers we featured by subscribing to them, support their work, and of course smash that subscribe button for ReviewMean. Like, comment, share, and I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, let the numbers do the watching for you.